Maya walked in with the other new cadets, a mix of beings from across the galaxy. There was Crix, a mantis like Zeltherin who could move faster than most eyes could track. Bornak, a hulking Torgasian with muscles that could crush steel. And Little Pip, a floating gas-based ephemeral who communicated through color changes. Captain Vorn, the head of physical training, stood at the center of the gymnasium, his reptilian features set in what passed for a smile among his people. Welcome, cadets! Today we assess your baseline physical capabilities. We will be testing strength, speed, endurance, and adaptability. Those who cannot meet minimum standards will be reassigned to support roles. Do you understand? A chorus of affirmatives filled the space. Excellent. Let's begin with a simple exercise. The gravity in this gymnasium can be adjusted. We will increase it incrementally. When you can no longer safely continue, step into one of the safety zones marked in blue. There is no shame in knowing your limits. He was lying about that last part, of course. It was absolutely shame. The military thrived on shame and competition. Vorn activated the gravity controls. I had seen many things in my 12 cycles serving aboard the Galactic Naval Academy, but nothing quite prepared me for the arrival of the human. My name is Vrel, a Korthian instructor with enough credentials to fill a datapad and enough sense to know when something catastrophic was about to happen. And when I saw that transport ship dock at Base 7, carrying our first ever Terran cadet, every nerve cluster in my body started firing warnings. The other instructors gathered at the observation deck, their various appendages pressed against the viewport like younglings at a zoo. Commander Thrace, a towering Vaxillian with skin like polished obsidian, let out what I can only describe as a snort. This is the human? This soft-looking creature from the planet they call Earth? The being that emerged from the transport was, frankly, underwhelming. She stood perhaps 6 feet tall, which was short by most species standards. Her skin was a warm brown, her hair pulled back in what humans call a ponytail, and she moved with an easy grace that seemed almost lazy. Her name was Maya Torres, according to the file that had been causing panic among the administrative staff for weeks. "Did you read the planetary classification?" whispered Instructor Pex, a 6-armed Grinthian who taught advanced combat theory. Earth is rated as a Class 12 death world. Class 12. I have never even heard of anything above Class 9. Propaganda. Thrace dismissed with a wave of his massive hand. Look at her. She can barely be considered a threat. Humans have no natural armor, no venom, no optical enhancements. They are practically prey species. Oh, how wrong he was. How gloriously, spectacularly wrong. The human, Maya, made her way through processing without incident. She smiled politely at the registration droid, signed her intake forms, and collected her academy uniform. Standard procedure. Boring even. Then came orientation day. The academy gymnasium was a massive structure, designed to accommodate species from dozens of worlds with varying gravitational needs. The standard setting was 0.8 GS, comfortable for most species, challenging enough to build strength, but not so intense as to cause injury. 0.9 GS. Most of the cadets barely noticed. 1.0 GS. Standard Earth gravity, I noted, watching the human carefully. Maya's expression hadn't changed. She stood with her hands clasped behind her back, looking almost bored. 1.2 GS. Crix's antennae started drooping. Several of the smaller species shifted uncomfortably, their breathing becoming labored. 1.5 GS. Half the class stumbled toward the safety zones, their bodies unable to cope with the increased pressure. Bornak, the Torgasian strongman, was grinning, showing off by doing squats. Maya yawned. She actually yawned. Thrace, watching from the instructor platform beside me, leaned forward. Is she malfunctioning? 1.8 GS. Now, it was getting serious. Only a dozen cadets remained. Bornak had stopped showing off and was simply standing, sweat glistening on his rocky hide. Crix was on all sixes, struggling to keep her head up. Maya stretched her neck to one side, then the other, producing small popping sounds that made Pex flinch. 2.0 GS. Twice standard. Bornak took a knee, then crawled to a safety zone, his pride intact, but his body screaming. Only 3 cadets remained. A crystalloid being named Shale, whose mineral structure made them resistant to pressure. A cyborg called Unit 7, whose mechanical enhancements were doing the heavy lifting, and the human. Maya Torres, from the Deathworld Earth, standing in twice standard gravity like she was waiting for a transport. "This is impossible," Thrace muttered. "The readings must be wrong." 2.5 GS. Shale's structure began developing stress fractures. They shuffled to safety, their crystalline body chiming with distress. Unit 7's servos were whining, audible even from our observation post. Maya tilted her head and caught Captain Vorn's eye. When she spoke, her voice carried easily across the gymnasium despite the pressure that should have been crushing her lungs. Unit 7's optical sensors flickered in what I had learned was mechanical confusion. The cyborg's voice came out strained, processed through struggling vocal synthesizers. "How are you even speaking right now?" Maya glanced over, genuinely puzzled by the question. "With my mouth. I mean, the air is denser, so technically it should carry sound better, right?" Captain Vorn's jaw, all 3 hinges of it, dropped open. His clawed hand hovered over the gravity controls like he was afraid to touch them. Around me, every instructor had gone completely still, and when I say completely, I mean the kind of stillness prey animals achieve when a predator walks by. Cadet Torres, Vorn managed, his voice cracking slightly. "You are currently experiencing 2.5 times standard gravitational force. The pressure on your skeletal system alone should be causing significant discomfort." "Oh." Maya's face brightened with understanding. "You are worried about me. That is sweet, really. But sir, I grew up in Earth's gravity well. This is only about 2.5 times what I'm used to, and honestly, I spent my summers working construction in 1.2 GS, so this is actually kind of nice. Like a firm hug, you know?" I did not know. None of us knew. The concept of finding crushing gravitational force comforting was so alien that my translation implant briefly glitched trying to process it. Thrace made a sound somewhere between a cough and a dying engine. "Summers? Construction? In higher gravity?" "Yeah, my uncle runs a station building company. Good money, great workout." Maya rolled her shoulders, and I swear I heard her joints pop again despite the pressure. "So are we going higher? Or is this the maximum? Because if this is it, I might actually cancel that thing later. This is kind of relaxing." Relaxing. The human called bone-crushing gravitational force relaxing. Captain Vorn looked up at our observation deck, his eyes pleading for guidance, for orders, for literally any instruction on how to handle this situation. Commander Thrace, who moments ago had called humans soft prey species, seemed to have forgotten how his vocal cords worked. I activated my communicator. "Captain, proceed to 3GS. Let's see what happens." "Instructor Vrel, are you certain?" "The safety protocols recommend against exceeding 2.7 for biological entities without specialized adaptation. The human appears to be a specialized adaptation." "Continue." Maya's eyes lit up. Actually lit up with what humans call excitement. "Oh good. I was hoping we would go higher. Back home, my training routine included 3.2 GS for endurance building." Unit 7 made a grinding noise and lurched toward the nearest safety zone, their mechanical body finally admitting defeat. That left only Maya standing in the center of the gymnasium as Captain Vorn, his hand visibly shaking, increased the gravity to 3 times standard. The reinforced floor plates groaned. The air itself seemed to compress, taking on a visible shimmer. Every monitoring device in the facility started screaming warnings about structural stress and safety violations. Maya Torres took a deep breath, held it for a moment, and then started doing jumping jacks. Jumping jacks, in 3 times standard gravity. Each impact of her feet against the floor sent small shock waves through the structure. Her movements were controlled, efficient, and utterly casual. She was not showing off, I realized with dawning horror. This was just her normal exercise routine, adjusted for the available gravity. "By the void," whispered Pex, all 6 of his hands pressed against his face. "What kind of planet produces this?" I pulled up Earth's file on my datapad, the one that had been flagged with 17 different warning codes. As I read through the environmental data, my blood went cold. Earth's gravity was actually listed as one of its milder hazards. The planet had weather systems that could level cities, temperature variations that swung hundreds of degrees, an atmosphere that was slightly corrosive to most species, predators at every level of the food chain, including microscopic ones, and, oh yes, the entire surface was covered in a chemical compound that dissolved most known hull materials given enough time. They called it salt water. Humans had evolved to survive all of that, and then they had decided that surviving was not enough. So they started competing with each other to see who could survive the hardest. They invented sports, I learned, which were apparently just elaborate ways to damage themselves for entertainment. Maya finished her jumping jacks and jogged in place for a moment, barely breathing hard. "This is great. Are there weights available? I would love to get some resistance training in while we are at elevated G." Captain Vorn had sat down on the floor. Just sat down, his legs refusing to hold him anymore despite the fact that he was in a safety zone experiencing normal gravity. Commander Thrace found his voice. "Turn it off. Turn it all off. Get her out of there before she breaks something." "Sir, the human appears completely fine," I observed, watching Maya's vital signs on the monitor. Her heart rate was elevated but steady, her respiration normal, her body temperature slightly raised but well within safe parameters. She was treating 3GS the way most species treated a light warm-up. "I do not care about the human, Vrel. I care about the gymnasium. The floor is rated for 2.8 maximum. If she keeps jumping around in there, she's going to crack the foundation." That was actually a valid concern. I opened a channel to the gymnasium. "Cadet Torres, please return to the safety zone. You have more than adequately demonstrated your capabilities." Maya looked up, and even through the gravitational distortion, I could see her grin. "Already? Oh, okay. This was fun, though. Same time tomorrow?" She walked, not crawled, not stumbled, but walked casually to the safety zone as Captain Vorn frantically reduced the gravity back to standard. When it hit 0.8 GS, she actually looked disappointed. The other cadets, watching from their safety zones, stared at her like she had just grown a second head. Bornak, the Torgasian who prided himself on his strength, was making a high-pitched, wheezing sound. Thrace turned to me, his massive frame somehow seeming smaller. "Vrel, how many humans are scheduled to join the Academy this cycle?" I checked my datapad, though I already knew the answer. 15, sir. This is just the first arrival." 15, he repeated, his voice hollow. 15 more like her. Actually, sir, according to the intake profiles, Cadet Torres ranked in the middle of her applicant group for physical assessments. There are 7 incoming cadets who scored higher. The color drained from Thrace's face, which was impressive given that his species did not actually have blood-based circulation. Down in the gymnasium, Maya was introducing herself to the other cadets, shaking hands and making what humans called small talk. Crix, the Zeltherin, looked at Maya's offered hand like it might explode. Pip, the ephemeral, had turned a color I had never seen before, which my translation guide unhelpfully labeled as confused terror. "Gentlemen," I said to my fellow instructors, "I believe we need to recalibrate our entire training program, and possibly our definition of what constitutes a survival-capable species." Or, Peck suggested weakly, we could just let the humans do whatever they want and stay out of their way. Looking down at Maya Torres, who was now offering to help the other cadets with their recovery stretches, her smile bright and friendly and completely oblivious to the existential crisis she had just triggered, I had to admit that Pex might have the right idea. Earth had sent us their warriors, and we had mocked them as soft. The galaxy, I suspected, was about to learn a very hard lesson about Deathworlders, and I had a front row seat to watch it happen. Lucky me. So what did you think? Did this story surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this sci-fi story, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing science fiction stories every week. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.